Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Rare Book Cafe, Coffee Break Edition. I'm Lee Linn from the Rich Books in Calhoun, Georgia. And joining me today, it may sound like this is two people, but it's really only one. My co host, Richard Mori, is also our guest today. Richard wears many hats, and one of his recent hats is as a book fair manager. So, one thing we're going to talk about today is his upcoming Northern New England Book Fair, which is in Concord, New Hampshire, I believe June the 1st.
It
Is that
is.
correct?
Hello, Lee. How you
Hello,
doing?
Richard. We're so glad to have you with many of your hats on today.
Well, and thank you for the raise. I don't know if it'll be a financial one, but I appreciate at least
Well, we certainly hope so.
yeah. So, well, I'm here in the warehouse in New Hampshire on the eighth floor. We've been having rain. We're going to have more rain this week. So it's kind of a little dreary out there, but it's warmer than it has been, so we're happy.
Well, we've had a lot of rain too, and the temperatures range from sometimes in the 50s when we've had a lot of rain up until the mid 80s when we
Yeah,
have.
yeah.
So it's a typical spring in Georgia. There are days when you have the heat and the air conditioning both on. It's a typical Georgia
One
spring.
of those days.
Yeah.
So, so we're going to talk a little bit today about some things that I've picked up. I've got a couple, I think, little different kinds of items today to show, and of course, I want to talk about Concord. June
Right.
1st, the Everett Arena, right off of I-93. I have to remember we've got one, two, and three, five here. One, three, and five are here in New Hampshire, so I had to keep it straight. But we're excited. It's going to be a little different this year. We've got the New Hampshire Antique Dealers Association is going to be on the floor with us. So we're sharing the floor with them. That should bring some new energy and some new people. And we've got dealers lining up. I think we've got about 50 or more dealers already lined up between the two shows. So this is looking good.
That does look good. We've done some antique shows, and there would be a few book dealers, and we would be kind of spread out, amongst the others.
Yeah.
Will you have two separate sections, one of books
I
and one
think
of
that's
antique?
we decided to do it that way. I've done it with them mixed
Right.
together, but we're going to kind of keep them separate. So some people who they're not interested in one subject area or the other. But typical of these kinds of shows, the book dealers are going to be bringing some antiques in
Right.
a related thing, and I'm going to guess that there'll be books in the antique side of
I'm
things.
sure there will be. So,
So you truthfully you want to walk the whole floor because you'll be missing something if you don't.
right. Well, if I were going
So
to be there, I certainly would not miss anything. I
well,
would not.
we'd love to have you. Why don't you
I
fly on to
just
Manchester
fly
and
in for the day.
fly
Just
in?
I know. I know.
It it's getting so we can do that now. But I just should mention this. I just got back from DC. We had a wonderful fair
Right.
there. Even Ed Lemon put on a wonderful show. They call it Capitol Book Fair. It's held at the University Club, which is really a fancy place. Um, I I had somebody comment this morning, a former show promoter that's known in the business. He thought I had upped my game when he saw my picture. I
Well,
told him,
we can all use a little upping of our games every
yeah,
once in a
well,
while.
you can't go into the bar at the University Club with sneakers on, and you can't
Oh
eat in the
dear.
dining room without a jacket. Uh,
Oh.
and
So
they do enforce it.
so did you make it into the bar in the dining room is the question.
Well, actually, Sunday morning I was going to have breakfast there, but I had to take it out.
Oh,
They did let me do a takeout. I
okay.
didn't have my jacket on Sunday morning.
Uh,
But I did have my shoes on Thursday night so I
well,
could
I'm
get into
glad to
the
hear that.
bar.
I am glad to
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
that.
yeah. They're trying to keep the ruffians out, I'm sure. But it was a wonderful event. So let me tell you about a couple things I got. One of the things you may not know, I actually now speak about 120 to 130 languages. I
Oh,
bet
do
you didn't.
you? No, I
Oh,
wasn't
yes.
aware of that.
Yeah. Well, I have this, I do a lot of driving. So I've taught myself all these languages. Uh, I try not to speak it publicly because I don't want to embarrass everybody else who can't keep
Right.
up with me. So but so here I'm going to show you something. Um, this is in the Latin, um, and basically the title page translation reads poems offered to the unparalleled greatness of the noble lords Count, and I can't pronounce it, but I think it's Ascanio, Asconio, and it's 1820, and it's actually basically was for a wedding book. Um, my Latin's a little rough, but I think I got most of
Well, Latin not really being a spoken language these days, I guess you kind of
it.
skipped over it.
But it's a beautiful piece and the wonderful boards. It's
Ooh,
yeah, it's got these wonderful, nice oh God, my gilt impressions on it.
oh,
It
pretty.
the shield is a coat of arms on the front. Uh, it's not, it's rather thin. And it was basically, I think, intended as a wedding gift in the
Okay.
original. In the original.
I wondered if it was a gift or if it was something that was actually read at a wedding.
Well, it may have been. It is fancy enough. It has ties,
Yeah.
so it's fancy enough to have been that, and it could have, of course, be both. But that that came in. It's beautiful leather, nice piece in gilt, impressed. So that's a nice little piece.
Did you get that
Um,
in Washington?
no, you know, it's a piece I've actually had laying around for a while, and I
Uh,
haven't done much anything. It's one of those deals where it's I have it, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. But I'm going to do something with it because now I've talked about it.
right.
So I've dropped something. Yep, here I am. I'm back. Um, so the the other thing I did pick up at Allentown, I picked up a wonderful. I only bought two boxes. It was over like 300 books on the
Oh,
gentleman's
that's
table.
all.
Yeah, and he was selling them actually very reasonable, but he also had some that were more expensive. I bought some of the more expensive ones, and then I picked up a couple boxes of the other stuff. But I picked these up. This is the presidential campaign illustrated envelopes and letter paper for Abraham Lincoln. It's a
Oh,
it's a two-volume set. You know, basically it's about ephemera. I mean, here's an example. Here's a page gives us some information about Henry Clay and some of the letters he wrote or letterheads. There's a nice, beautiful letterhead there. Uh, and of course, Clay was in his cabinet, if I remember right, wasn't he? I think wasn't Clay in Lincoln's cabinet?
I think so.
Yeah. Um, but there's also a little bit on some medals that were produced. Um, These, so this is a really important reference book for those who collect Lincoln or related to it. Here's some wonderful envelopes. I think they call them cachets in
Yeah.
the philatelic world, um, and you can see that
And that's a beardless Lincoln up there.
it is. It is means he's very young. Uh, I think that's dated 1861, but I think the image would have been pre
Or
1861.
prior to that, yeah.
Yeah. So those are kind of interesting to see. And then, I love my children's books. Well, this winter, I haven't told you everything I bought this winter. Um, I was on my trip this winter and I picked up some pop-up books,
Of
but
course you did.
these are not just any pop-up books. These are signed limited editions by Robert Sabuda.
Oh,
Okay. They come with a very nice fancy slipcase
right. Yeah.
with the silk
Yeah.
string, and this has the the deluxe edition has an extra pop-up in the cover. I'm showing you this here. Uh, and the signature and the numbering is internal to this piece. And this fits back in here like this. So this is the cover, and of course, we are looking
Right.
at
Yes,
Alice in
I have
Wonderland.
had a copy. I have had a copy of that,
Yeah.
and my grandchildren did not want me to sell it. I did.
Oh, yeah. So this
Yeah,
and and the boards are a little fancier on
right.
this edition, and one of my favorite books. I also picked up five or six other titles of his signed limited editions. So there are some that aren't signed as well. I actually picked up like 30 of these this winter. So, and I've never had the signed limited editions. I shouldn't say that. I owned one that I got for myself, but I've never had them for sale. So now I have them for sale.
Well, that's good. I've had one for sale, which
Yeah.
sold quickly, and it actually had been a gift from another bookseller. Uh,
Oh,
it was kind of a complicated thing, but anyway, it was a gift. Though it was given to me, with the instructions that I could sell it. It was not
oh.
just a
Well,
personal
that was nice of
personal
them.
gift, and it was very, very nice. But the thing that's so cool about that one is that one on the cover.
Yeah.
Is to have that
Yeah.
on the
The
cover.
the the I think they call it an extra illustrated edition
Oh,
with the extra pop-up. So those are special and nice.
yeah.
And they're done in a small. Now I think the print runs are 500 or less.
Oh.
I think some runs are 350 and some runs are 500, but not so many. And considering that like the Alice in Wonderland book has probably sold millions.
Oh,
Uh,
I know.
yeah.
I know.
So that's a very small print run. So you also know I'm a big fan of dictionaries. Love
Yeah.
dictionaries.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't have it with me, but actually, our friend Ed recently rebound a first edition Black's Law Dictionary for me. It came out
Oh,
really nice. I took it to Washington, and it caught a lot of people's attention. I haven't sold it yet, but it is really in the law world. It's a foundation book. Um, it so I'm looking forward to selling that, but I just thought I would show a favorite of mine. This is a Webster 1846, uh, early, but this is, I think, the first. I want to say 1846 is the first revised Webster. I think 1823 is the first edition, although there was actually some American dictionaries prior to that. But you know the story of the dictionary wars.
I don't think I do,
Well,
but I think I'm about to
let
find out.
well, listen carefully. Worcester wrote Webster, and Worcester worked for Webster in the first edition. But Worcester and Webster had two different views about colloquialism. And Worcester was a little more British oriented in his language, and Webster was a little more colloquial. And they eventually had a parting of the ways, and Worcester went off and did his own books. So, in fact, Worcester dictionaries are actually collected, especially in New England, because the family lineage is actually very strong in New England. We have Worcester, Massachusetts.
Right.
And I've met a number of family members over the years who collect the Worcester material. And he didn't do just dictionaries, but mostly dictionaries. Um, but his stuff is very desired. And but uh, and Worcester, I think, eventually goes out of business. I want to say in the 1850s. I mean, maybe 1860s, but someplace around there. And of course, Webster is the giant of the dictionary world today. So that little sidebar and something to think about if you haven't figured out what you want to collect someday, look at dictionaries. Language is actually really important.
Well, first of all, we've had a fact check from Alan. Henry
Yes.
Clay was not in the cabinet. He
Oh,
died
okay.
before Lincoln was inaugurated.
All right. All right. Thank you.
We have our own fact checker.
Good.
But uh, but
Well, I
back
can
in
make things
the
up.
back in the 80s and 90s, prior to when we all got did all of our game playing sitting in front of screens back when we, had game nights and things like that. Friends of ours played the dictionary game a
Yeah.
lot. And our favorite resource for it was Mrs. Burns' Dictionary, which was obscure,
Yeah.
strange words. It was so much fun. We really enjoyed it, and I still have a copy of Mrs. Burns' Dictionary.
In the real world, that would probably be cheating, but I won't go there.
Well, maybe, but it was, we would give the name, give the word, and then everyone would write what they thought the definition was.
Yeah.
And the person who had selected the word would write the correct, definition,
Yeah.
and we would guess
Oh, that
which
would be
was the
fun.
correct one.
Yeah,
So it was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, that adds another dimension.
And this group of people were mostly English teachers
Yeah.
and they're educators.
Oh,
So you got some,
really,
you got
yeah,
some interesting responses there.
yeah.
But it
Well,
was my favorite.
yeah. Well, and that's the fun thing about language. We can do a lot with it. And there are I know a number of people of customers of mine who have collect dictionaries over the years.
Yeah.
And some of those collections are quite fascinating. Well, I hope that we'll see people down the road.
We will.
I'm gonna have a busy summer. There's be lots more. I've got shows in Boxborough, Massachusetts, and Cooperstown, New York. Be going to Camden, Maine, Madison, Belkville, New York. And that's
You'll be closer to home during the summer.
Generally speaking, yes, I'd stay closer to home during the summer. So it's going to be a busy time, and we look forward and hope we'll see you folks on the road, and make sure you say hello to us. And guests, don't forget, you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, and many of the places where great podcasts and programs are seen.
That's right. And we'll look forward to our 100th anniversary show.
Yeah.
Coming up soon. So please join us then. And thank you for being with us today. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, Lee.
Bye-bye.